Good evening and welcome to the fourth round of the Indy Elite Series from the newly renamed ISM Raceway that everyone will know better as Phoenix. It is a bit of a throwback booth tonight. Randy Chineth and Aaron Likens on the call for this fourth round out here in the desert near Phoenix, Arizona. Aaron, there's not too many racetracks here out west that have the sort of history with IndyCar racing the way that Phoenix does.
Oh, going all the way back to the 70s and 80s, even the 60s. This track has been a staple, and it's great to be back on the real life series, and it's going to be interesting tonight, Randy, on how this new car handles the track. Will we see passing? And if so, how much? I'm thinking it's going to be a really intense race up front this evening.
We've seen in the DW12, the older car, both in the real world as well as on iRacing, that dirty air could be one heck of a thing to deal with. But how are things going to shape up in this new Dallara IR18 IndyCar? We have seen already at Milwaukee in this championship that this new car performs a lot better in the dirty air, and it's a lot more racy on these sort of 1 mile high speed, high downforce racetracks. Qualifying is currently underway, and we'll bring up that on the side of your screens in just a moment. You can take a look at the qualifying results as they sit. It's Tim Holgate currently on the top of the timing screens, an 18.911, and last race's winner Joshua Chin out there in second place, just under a tenth of a second behind Tim Holgate. But that's really, I think, the big talking point here, Aaron, about this new car and about this series is just really watching these guys and seeing really what they found in the setups, what they found in the aero trim that can make these cars work over a long run here at Phoenix. 150 laps. You're going to be out there for at least one long run tonight.
Yeah, looking for that long run, and one thing we will want to take notice is tire wear. Not something that usually IndyCars and tire wear, but lower downforce, you may have a car that starts off good, but the fall off over the course of the run may occur. So don't be surprised to see somebody that might be starting P5, P10, maybe a little further back, actually move their way up through one of these longer runs.
It is definitely one of the things that we're going to have to keep an eye on over the course of this race tonight. And that's really going to be the big talking point, Aaron, as qualifying continues here. Chris Stouffer comes to the end of his run. He won the season opener at Homestead. He currently sits in the 16th spot. Wasn't a great lap from him. We currently have Niles Anders out there on track. He is currently 16th quickest, and he's actually already used up all his allotted laps. So he's basically out there just getting some last-minute practice. Few drivers we need to watch come out here and potentially roll away. Michael Peters, Tanner Watkins, Danley Inch, and Christian Steele. Adam Plunkett. Steele's going to be, I think, the one that we really have to keep an eye on when he comes out. That number 2 car is very, very quick.
Oh, and you never count Steele out of a race he's entered. Waiting for his qualifying time, which he may want to see what everybody else can do, but expect him to qualify top 5, if not be a threat for the pole here once he takes his laps.
Michael Peters out there on track. He's yet to do any laps, and let's do a little bit of an on-board with the driver in this number 3 car. We see him working through corners number 3 and 4 here at Phoenix, coming on towards start-finish. This is going to be the end of his first lap. And let's bring up the lap time sectors as well. You see he goes to a 20.084, and not a very good line at all through 1 and 2. This is not going to be a good time for this 3 car. Really going all the way down up against the wall. You're allowed to do that in qualifying. You need to stay above the yellow lines, though, in race trim. Then through corners number 3 and 4. Let's see what Peters can do. I don't think it's going to be a great run considering what he had in turns 1 and 2. And actually he does improve a little bit, but still not quite the qualifying I think that 20 car would typically like to have, Aaron. He's going to be rolling off somewhere around 20th spot tonight.
Yeah, about 2 car widths wide in turn 1, which you can have a setup that if you get a little bit of oversteer on entry, you may not want that bottom lane, but the fast lane through 1 on qualifying is getting down to that yellow line, and that car was not down there.
We just saw that from Tanner Watkins, the fact that it's slippery down there, and that's going to basically be a throwaway lap for his first one. Going to burn the tires. He's going to take that car off the racetrack because of that. and we're going to wait and see him maybe go out there in qualifying or maybe not. Might just take the starting position that he has relatively deep in the field. We're going to take a quick little look at our championship standings, as there's no one currently on track, and it's currently Simon Bryant who leads this championships by 10 points over Joshua Chin, then Bradley Walters, Tim Holgate, and Andrew Kinsella. Holgate Kinsella tied for 4th and 5th spot, and then you get Christian Steele, Chris Stouffer, Adam Plunkett, Liam Quinn, and Joe Branch rounding out your top 10. That's really been the big talking point of this championship thus far, Aaron. Tim Holgate really struggling to get into a groove to the first few races, has been on the side of some bad luck through some of the events.
Holgate has been, past 3 years, probably the most complete driver. He'll probably complain when I say this, but you go back 3 years, he was one of the fastest, but always had that one hiccup in a race that really would come back and bite him. But as you mentioned, with the new car, the playing field has really been reset. So people that were fast now might be struggling and wondering, well, how is that car handling through that corner that way? So getting that right balance, and of course, you mentioned luck. When you have a run of bad luck, no matter what you try to do, always seems to find you.
Yeah, never want to be on the wrong side of the cards you are dealt. I'll never want to get bad cards dealt to you is probably the better way to explain that. Something myself and Aaron are more than aware of. Just a couple minutes left in qualifying here. Still have a couple of drivers that owe us laps, and that's why we're waiting. Christian Steele and Adam Plunkett have yet to take to the racetrack. But that said, with 2 minutes left, Aaron, there's more than enough time for them to get laps in. It's really only about a 1 minute sequence from getting out of the pit road onto the racetrack and both your qualifying laps done and over with.
This is sort of waiting for the star to appear on stage, waiting for Christian Steele to take his laps. Where will he qualify? Will he be a threat for pole? 1 minute, 50 seconds to find it, and sort of some anticipation on, will the star actually make it to the stage?
Yeah, that's going to be sort of an interesting thing to watch. Actually, let's see what's happened as Adam Plunkett. No, Adam's not been on track either, so basically just going to be sitting and watching and waiting. And I'll bring that graphic back up that shows the qualifying times. And then it's just sort of everyone sort of apprehensively waiting to see. That said, if they're going to come out on track, they're going to do it sooner rather than later, as there's a minute and 20 seconds left. You don't really want to push that any tighter than you really need to, because I think we've all been on the bad side of being on a very, very quick lap, and then the session ends just before we get to start-finish. And well, I know I've been in a situation where it's about to be pole position and then a couple hundred yards from start finish here and the qualifying session ends. I don't know if there's anything that's quite more aggravating than that, but with that said, under a minute to go and neither of them are out there, they maybe it's just starting from the back tonight.
Could be a strategy play, waiting to see how the race has gone. In years past, Randy, this first half of this race traditionally has been caution heavy, so hanging out in the back and waiting for the final 50 laps might not be the worst of ideas. However, 150 laps, that sounds like a long time, but we're talking 19, 20-second laps. If this race goes green to checkered, this thing's over in a flash.
Yeah, this thing is going to go very, very quickly if we have a green flag run. That's one of the big things about these sort of 1 mile, 3/4 mile sort of racetracks like Milwaukee, here at Phoenix, whenever this series they've run, Richmond in the past. Those sorts of tracks can make things very, very short and get done very, very quickly. The timer officially gets down to 0. And that means your starting grid will be official and that we are going to get ready to set the field here on RaceSpotTV and on iRacing Live. And that means it is time to cue the grid music and go down your starting grid. On pole position, it'll be one of the most consistent drivers in iRacing IndyCar history, Tim Holgate, with Joshua Chin starting on the outside of that front row. Austin Espetit and Andrew Kinsella will make up row number 2. Moving our way back here. It helps if I hit the right button. Moving our way back, Bradley Walters and Andres Eek will make up row 3 with Liam Quinn and John Downing on row 4. Simon Bryant, Nefra Yog, they're going to be rolling off on row number 5 with James McClure and Joe Branch on row number 6. Chris Stouffer, Adam Dock, row 7 with Tanner Watkins and Niall McBride on row number 8. Row 9 belongs to Niles Andrews and Chad Simpson with Jose Crescente and Kevin Williams, 19th and 20th. Michael Peters, Danley Inch, 21st and 22nd. And if they decide to hit the racetrack, Christopher Peters, Christian Steele, and Adam Plunkett will round out the last 3 positions on the field tonight. 150 laps. I expect a lot of aero push, Aaron. What are your predictions for the evening?
Yeah, it's one thing in practice. A lot of people were trying to get into that dirty air to see how it would affect their car. And it'll be interesting to see between our front row, between Chin and Holgate, on how hard you push to get that lead early, because that clean air, 1, your car is set up for the clean air. 2, that's going to allow your tires to not be used up as much, because when you are running in that dirty air, you are putting more force on those tires to get the same amount of performance. So it's going to be interesting. I really would not want to start this race P8 through P16, because you'll have people from the back coming forward, people in the front that may have the turbulence really not like their car, and if trouble's going to happen, well, the eye of the hurricane is going to be in the 8 through 16 spot.
I can definitely agree with that as the field rolls itself off here on RaceSpotTV. Thank you all for tuning in as we get ready for the 4th round in the Indy Elite Series. It's been a fantastic championship in the past, and 2 of the IndyCar heavyweights over the years are starting on that front row. Tim Holgate and Joshua Chin, they've been championship contenders in these American Open wheel cars for a number of years on the iRacing service, dating back to the IR05. They also took battle in the DW12 as well. See these guys do battle not only on these big oval racetracks that North America is known for, but the big road course races as well, and expect those to be exciting when we get to them. Pace car peels off. Tim Holgate's in control of the field, and we are green in the Indy Elite Series round number 4 at Phoenix, and fight is already on for that 2nd spot. Andrew Kinsella wants to take that spot away from Joshua Chin, and Josh, terrible start on that outside. He might fall back to 4th.
That was a very poor start by Chin, which you don't want to be caught on the outside, but a little bit smart there. It's way too early to pinch. One thing we'll talk about, if you get on that apron in turn 1, it is so easy for that snap oversteer that it's really almost impossible to save. So a bad start, but great not forcing the issue there by Chin, which that's what you would expect from, as you said, one of the heavyweights.
As we're riding on board with Josh Chin, see he's just sort of looking for clean air through corners number 3 and 4 here. And he sort of had similar strategy in the races thus far in terms of being not patient. Another fight as well between Liam Quinn as well as Simon Bryant, your championship points leader. You see them doing battle through the dog leg. Simon Bryant just picked that spot up. So move him up into the 7th spot, move Liam Quinn back down into the 8th position. That number 22 car is looking to work his way forward. And we're just getting ready to see what these new IR18 IndyCar lights are like here in the desert. Looks to me like the dirty air not quite as much of a factor as it used to be in the older cars, but we'll have to wait and see as Nefri Ogg and Joe Branch are doing battle into 3 and 4.
3 and 4 they go. Nefri Ogg's really getting close, but you can see in the middle of the corner it loses a little bit of ground. So on the straightaway, that draft is your friend. In the corner, not so much. And you'll notice these drivers will try to set their cars up a little half width off center to try to get some clean air in the corners. Christopher now slightly pulling up, but he's going to lose some ground off of Ford and Nefri as well.
Well, right on board with Stouffer to see what Aaron's talking about. As you see, he worked his way through corner number 1, and he sort of puts the left side a little bit lower than what we saw from Nefri, but I think that may have been a mistake from Ogg rather than Stouffer trying to work the dirty air as he worked into 3 and 4. Now you're going to see it. He's tucked right up close to the rear wing of Nefri Ogg. He waits to apex much, much later and really takes a much straighter exit onto this front straightaway here at ISM Speedway, Aaron, and because of that, that's, you know, like you said, just trying to work the dirty air and really manage the tires here to track like Phoenix.
Well, with the reconfiguration here, I guess it's been 6 or 7 years ago now, but with this reconfiguration...
God, that's weird to say. It feels like it was just yesterday.
I know, just yesterday, but going 6-7 years now. As Stouffer gets on the apron and Nefri Ogg slips off it too, so Stouffer's going to go to the inside and he's going to take the 11th spot. You got to be on your toes, not only driving your car, but being aware of the car in front of you. If they make a mistake like that, 1, don't hit them. 2, capitalize. That's
really the big thing. You need to know, you need to be very, very expectant here when it comes to running around this place. As Let's take a look a little bit ways out front. Joshua Chin fighting with one of the teammates of his championship contender. That's Bradley Walters in the 56. We've seen that car be strong this far this season, and he's tucked right under the rear wing here of Joshua Chin. One of the things that I can say here early, Aaron, and it's going to be one of the talking points of this entire race to see how these cars work at this racetrack. Bradley Walters is tucked much more closely to the back of Joshua Chin than you would typically see people in the older cars. So that tells me that, well, I know that the big talking point is that there's less downforce, but I think the bigger talking point is the aero distribution on these cars being much more forward. It seems like that you can really work the dirty air much more aggressively and get about I'd say half distance before that dirty air starts to affect you as much as it used to.
Oh, you're absolutely right. As Walters has a run, will he pop to the inside? No, not that time. But you're absolutely right. And we go yellow.
So we go yellow. Let's see what the issue is out there on the racetrack.
It's the 50 car. Jose Crescende issues. Looks like it was about a lap and a half coming ready. Had trouble off of 4, and just once you bend the suspension in these cars, it's a long ways till you can actually come to a stop. Good job not affecting any other cars, though.
So we're going to ride on board with Jose here. We kind of caught the tail end of the incident initially, and let's see where it ends up sort of affecting him. As he comes off corner number 4, and oh yeah, he got that outside wall in 4, and I think that broke something on that number 50 car. And then as he went into corner number 1, Aaron, that car just basically didn't even turn. That initial hit with the outside wall coming off of corner number 4 did some big damage to that machine. And
it all started, we've talked about this track and the apron. All it takes is one wheel, just half a width, to get inside the yellow line, and that's what happened in between 3 and 4, and it was an express ticket to the outside wall, and bent the car and gives us our first yellow on lap 11.
And some pit strategy already coming in. Your race leaders of Tim Holgate and Austin Espati elected to not come down pit road. Everybody else pretty much hit pit road. I think Joe Branch, yes, that number 28 car also decided to stay out. So let's see if we have any takers to potentially make something happen here, or we have anyone make any mistakes. They get ready to come off of pit road. See drivers starting to roll out. Kinsilla's going to slot back into the 3rd spot. Seems like everyone's pretty much going to filter out the way they came into pit road here in this one. We are going to step away for a short break here on RaceSpotTV and iRacing Live. Do not go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back here to RaceSpotTV and on iRacing Live. Restart coming at you from the Indy Elite Series. Very quick turnaround on the cautions into this championship, and Tim Holgate is immediately going to bring us to green flag racing as he comes off of corner number 4. 15 out of 150 laps already scored complete. As things out in the front of the field are going to get very interesting now here, Aaron, with the split strategies. Your top few drivers electing to come, to not come down pit road. Everyone else on the field, they're going to be heavy on fuel and enjoying that new rubber. As you can see, Kinsella tucked right under the back of that number 28. That was tight.
That was how you do a split strategy, and that's your fear on the cars on older tires. Kinsella to the outside. Oh, that's where you very rarely want to go, but you got to go where they aren't. Kinsella's moving up quickly. Let's see what he can do with Espati on the outside, and he's going around.
That was easy.
Oh, anticlimactic. So, Randy, next yellow, do you think you want tires?
I think so. It seems to be the situation. Joshua Chin's getting ready to make short work of Joe Branch as well, and you can see Bradley Walters is getting ready to follow suit through that little line as well. Down through corners number 3 and 4. Josh Chin's going to tuck down immediately to the inside on Austin Esbatee. So the Team Chimera driver really moving through the field right now as they head towards corner number 1. And they come off and now begin to run down towards the dog leg. And my oh my, Josh Chin is absolutely flying. Let's keep an eye though on that number 14 car of Andrew Kinsella. Let's take a look at the lap times as we're going to bring that up. And well, Kinsella has been running considerably quicker the last couple laps here, Aaron. He's going to get to Holgate, I think, in pretty much no time.
Right. The thing is, though, how much will he have to work that right front to get to Holgate? Holgate's had clean air the entire time, so when you're the leader, you don't need the tires as much as everybody else. Your car is well balanced and working the way it's supposed to without influence. So if Kinsella is going to take the lead, he's going to have to do so in short order before his tires do get that fall off.
Fight a little bit deeper down the field. See Simon Bryant working on now Joe Branch. He was sort of that last runner to elect to not come down pit road. So he's sort of the first car in line the faster traffic would get to. And as we ride on board with him, you can just sort of see the way that Simon Bryant, or excuse me, we're riding on board with Simon Bryant, and we ride on board with Joe Branch. You can just see the way now that Simon is starting to stretch that out. Joe, playing with fire, caught that apron going through the dog leg a little bit, has Liam Quinn who's outside, and see that number 22 car pretty much easily get around, and that's a spot now down for Joe Branch. And the way that car swung around the top, Aaron, I mean, that he just made it look easy. That's just showing the sort of grip levels that new tires has over old.
When you're on old tires, and Joe Branch is having this experience right now, sometimes it works for you, sometimes it doesn't. And when it doesn't, there is nothing more frustrating because there's nothing you can do. You're being passed on all sides, and you're just hanging on, hoping to get that yellow, which if you were running back in P14, 15, and the yellow were to come out now and everybody pits, well, Joe Branch does have a net gain of 8 positions, but right now it is hanging on for dear life.
Yeah, that's going to be the big thing. Right now we see the number 777 machine of Austin Esbatee. He's fighting with Simon Bryant. You also have Joe Liam Quinn in this little gaggle as well. You see Joe pulls up to the rear. That number 44 car of Liam Quinn is going to take a peek down to the inside, but nothing going to go to it. And that might bring Christopher in as that tight line through corners number 3 and 4 is really going to hurt the exit speed for that black machine. So move or look to see that number 7 car potentially work the momentum, but no, Stouffer not quite able to make anything of it just yet.
And right now it's a little bit of give and take. You'll gain some, you'll lose some. And all these drivers are just waiting for the car. Stouffer's really using a higher line out of 4, higher than what we're seeing anybody else really run, whether or not that's by design or if that car's pushing out. That allowed John Downing to close up just a little bit, but he closed up one corner and the next corner, which, Randy, we haven't talked about it. This track, obviously, very odd D-shaped oval. Your car may work great in 1 and 2, but struggle in 3 and 4, or be the opposite. So that's another thing that these drivers do have to contend with. It's really hard to get a car perfect on both ends.
And talking about the reconfiguration, it's been about 6 years now, but I think the biggest change happened in turn number 1 in terms of how you set your car up. Because really, it used to be turn 1 and turns 3 and 4. They were different, but they were still sort of wide sweepers. Now for these guys in these Indy cars, these cars have so much downforce and they carry so much speed through there. I honestly consider turn 1 here at Phoenix, it's almost a little bit more like a kink like you would have at Road America on the road course rather than an actual corner on an oval. It's not quite as, quick and as easy flat as, say, the dogleg on this racetrack, but it really is a single groove, just sort of turn the car into the corner, and it's basically you need to have the aero to make it stick. It doesn't really feel like a proper 1 and 2 like most typical ovals in North America.
Yes, but just like the kink at Road America, you have to be perfect. You have to be absolutely perfect to get through that corner. And you touch that yellow line, and bad things will happen to you. So, yeah, it really has that reverse feel, such as the kink at Road America. But we've saw it in practice and haven't seen it yet. But as the tires fall off, watch for some potential snap oversteer out of turn 2.
It's going to be one of the things to really watch here, and of course you need to watch for people struggling through a couple of these parts of the racetrack as well. Joe Branch and Liam Quinn, they continue to fight through corner number 3. Liam Quinn up in that purple white car along the top side of the racetrack. That black Cavalier machine running the middle and in towards one. They're going to go once again, and Branch has the preferred line. He's going to take that spot away. Christopher, he's going to now get a run on Liam Quinn and see what he can do with this little fight. And he's going to look down to the middle of the racetrack, gets low, going to get a big dose of dirty air though from Joe Branch, and that's going to hurt Christopher. And that right there, Aaron, if Joe Branch isn't there, Stouffer has that position. That's the power of the dirty air, and potentially what cars that are well and truly in front of you, the effect that they can have in your ability to work your way through a field at this racetrack.
And you can manipulate the air. If you are that front car, you are watching your mirror definitely, and you want those two cars side by side, so you can help a car down the straightaway and slow down another car behind you. So yeah, you can do a little bit of gamesmanship, and rightfully so. That lead car has that right to choose the lane, but with the clean air, Stouffer definitely would be ahead. And all this battling, John Downing still right there, Adam Ducks right there. This battle for 11th through 7th, or rather 6th right now, very entertaining.
And now we're just taking a look. Now we saw the speed of the new tires in the opening couple laps, Aaron, but it seems to have really leveled out, because for Tim Holgate, he has a 2-second advantage over the likes of Andrew Kinsella, Josh Chin, Bradley Walters, and it actually just came down a little bit in favor of Kinsella. But most notably, they're starting to deal with some lap traffic, and this is the first bits of lap traffic they've gotten thus far in this event. Not a lot of it, but you see a couple cars out in front of Andrew Kinsella in the 14 as we're taking a look now. Those 3 cars all in front of him are all laps down. And the thing that's notable to me, Aaron, especially to take away compared to the old DW12, leaders are able to get around the lap traffic very quickly and are not held up in the dirty air.
Yeah, saw that last year at the IndyCar race at now ISM Speedway. Leaders would get to the back of the field and not be able to advance. Same thing here on iRacing, which the Arrow was a very realistic model, but now leaders are able to. But even with fresh tires, let's take a look at the gap, Randy. Tim Holgate is pulling away on older tires. The lead this time is going to stretch to 2.6 seconds. So Tim Holgate showing that if there's a mile oval, he wants to stake claim and leave no questions as to who has the fastest car.
Yeah, he's on another level right now, is Tim Holgate, but the question has to be, is luck going to go his way and his strategy going to go his way? Of course, him choosing to not come down pit road, Aaron, while he's likely sort of using the benefit of a slightly lighter car out there right now, and that might explain the pace differential, but you have to say there might be a little bit of things might lean slightly in favor of some of these guys because they're not tucked up right up against one another. You look at Andrew Kinsella, Josh Chin, likes of Bradley Walters. They're sort of running this race the way you would in the older car in terms of giving each other enough of a bit of a gap and just sort of sitting there, not really trying to close on someone, but just trying to get clean air for yourself. And especially in these cars now, sort of that gap to where you can have an adequate amount of clean air and conserve the tires is much, much larger because the cars don't push quite as much of a hole through the air the way that they used to. So everyone behind Tim Holgate right now, even though they're not reeling him in, they've sort of done a good job stabilizing the gap, and everyone's just sitting there conserving their stuff really. So no one's really pushing. So whereas Holgate maybe slightly be increasing the gap, it's not this huge amounts that you might expect, and the strategy could come their way as we got trouble.
It's Holgate! Oh, I talked about the snap oversteer, and the snap oversteer bites him off of turn 4, and he's gonna keep it off the wall, Randy. So a single car spin by our race leader. His tires 43 laps on him, and wow, this race just got put into the spin cycle to make a bad pun.
How do they not drill that wall at 140 miles an hour?
2 words: Tim Holgate.
Yeah.
Perfect spin. Almost looked like he was trying to do a 180 parallel parking job on the front straightaway. What a story this will be as if he can come back, which he's only in 9th, Randy. So fresh tires, get some fuel in it, be on the same strategy, and this race is going to get exciting.
Yeah, that's one thing to really keep an eye on. Field coming back down towards pit lane. Andrew Kinsella and Josh Chin are now the leaders. couple of cars might choose to stay out. We'll get confirmation of that. Likely going to be lap traffic taking the wave around. People are going to be looking to get into their pit boxes and then roll their way off. Everyone's in. I haven't seen any mistakes from those who I've seen. And that looks like, oh, never mind. Holgate is just now getting to his box. Looks like Kinsella able. He was spun off of pit road. Kinsella spun exiting pit road.
Oh, and he's going to get tagged. Was that Chin that got
That
him?
was Josh Chin. We're going to ride on board with Chin on this replay.
Oh, Chin just barely missed him. Oh, what a great bit of driving, although leaving, when you're leaving the pits for the rest of the field, you're not expecting a sitting chicane, but this race, nobody wants to lead this race, Randy.
Yeah, the things have just picked up. It's not often you'll see mistakes happen on pit road like this. We're going to ride on board with Andrew Kinsella for this one. We first rode on board with Josh Chin, saw how he got around and then struggled to pick a gear. As he rolls his way out, he's going to try to pick up the throttle, and he just leaps it. I don't know if he had a weird weight jacker setting set into that car, Aaron, so you get to get down on towards pit road, but it was just sort of a lazy 180-degree spin that it seemed like he had no real ability to be able to get back to bring down to him. I'm not sure where this is going to cycle them out in terms of position. Josh Chin was scored as the leader that last time through, but Kinsella's taking his position back, it looks like.
Yeah, so that's interesting call by race control there, but what happens there when you're trying to get out of the pits, you are racing towards that cone, and you drop the pit limiter, and if you're full throttle, well, first gear, lots of power, light up the tires, and around you go. Thankfully, that didn't take out 2, 3, or more cars. Very rarely do we talk about incidents on pit road, but looks like Kinsella's going to maintain a spot, but these tires are finicky. When you spin them out, they get greasy, and the rest of the field's going to be holding their breath on this restart. I
will say that I embarrassingly made a very similar mistake to what Kinsella just did in the last iteration of the iRacing Indianapolis 500 in May of 2017, because it's always good, Aaron, when you qualify 14th overall for a big World Tour event, and then in the second pit stop of the race, you spin it exiting your box and destroy the left front suspension. It's always a valid way to go out of a race.
Well, you say that. It's one thing to do that. It's another thing to have the honesty to admit that. So, very brave man you are, Randy, to say that.
No. You know, the sim is broken. It's not me.
Oh, yeah. Spoken like a true racer right there.
Yeah, spoken like a true racer. It's going to be a frustrating result for Kinsella, and I will say it is definitely an interesting. It is an interesting decision from race control to give Kinsella his spot back. Because I'll be honest, I think that if it would have been up to me, I think Kinsella would have lost all those spots and would have pretty much had to restart from the rear. I think that would have been the call I would have made.
Yeah, but some days you get the calls by race control, other days you don't, and right now Kinsella has it. So I think we are 1 to green this time. Couple things to watch on this restart. Holgate is going to be restarting P9. Kinsella, how will those tires hold up, and how aggressive will we see Chin try to take the lead? I think Chin will have the breakout speed, but he just needs that clean air.
That's going to be the big thing, is what can that #1 car do? And we're so interested in what that #1 machine of Tim Holgate is going to do that we're going to do a little bit of RaceSpotTV fan immersion when they go green. So he's going to be restarting from the 9th spot, and we need to see what this car is capable of in the dirty air when they go back to green flag racing. So riding on board on the restart with the #1 machine of Tim Holgate. The field works from corners number 3 and 4. You see that iRacing safety car in the upper left corner of your screen. He comes down pit road, and now the field's in command of Andrew Kinsella. And there we go. We are officially back to green flag racing. Enjoy a couple laps of fan immersion here on RaceSpotTV. He's struggling a little bit, Aaron. We see he rode a couple of laps on board there with the one machine, saw him fighting that 31 car of Adam Dock, and he was struggling, I think, a bit in the dirty air, Aaron, because he was not able to get around that 31 car quickly. Car doesn't seem as settled in the dirty air as it did out in front.
Oh, how Holgate was having an amazing race of over a 3-second lead, and sometimes when you have a perfect race going, you're thinking, okay, what's going to go wrong? Very rarely is it a unforced error like we saw, but it was a race too good to be true going for Holgate. And you are absolutely right. I was expecting Holgate to chop through this field, and right now he's mired back in 8th, really having trouble making any forward progress.
And we've seen this from people in the past, Aaron, through the variety of the Indy cars that we've seen on both the short tracks and the big tracks. As right now you're seeing Holgate deal with the 20 machine of John Downing. He's going to look to the outside, but nowhere near enough of a run there just quite yet to be able to make the move. But sometimes the guys who start out in front, they'll load up a setup that because they're on pole position, they'll sort of gamble a little bit and say, you know what, I'm going to spend the entirety of this race out in front in clean air. As Holgate actually just got very close to the outside wall. What do you see?
Oh, I think Holgate might have white-walled it as close as possible, but what a run he gets, and he will move into the 7th spot off of turn 4. So, good run there, made it look easy. Next up on the list will be Liam Quinn, but right now he's about a second back from Liam.
But back to my point, Aaron, one of the things we've seen in the Indy cars on iRacing in the past is that people who qualify out front, they'll take a gamble in terms of their aerodynamic setup, and sometimes this will affect the chassis as well. And they'll run a trimmed out setup, basically saying, I'm going to be in clean air for pretty much the entirety of this race. And because of that, I'm going to be able to run a slightly lower wing angle, and that will essentially allow me to outrun a number of cars that are behind me, and no one will ever really have an opportunity to get around me because they'll have the advantage in top speed. We've seen that bite people in the past, and I'm curious if that might be what's holding back the one machine right now. You saw a huge gaggle of cars here running 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
On your point, we've seen that in the iRacing Indy 500 many times, and that's one of the reasons why we will see split strategies, because if you can get that leader mired back, you're not going to beat the leader that has that setup on speed, so you're going to have to beat them by strategy. And if you can mire them back in even 4th, 5th, they'll start just going backwards through the field. So for Holgate right now, how do you stay patient yet aggressively attack? Because if you let the emotions get to you right now, very easy to make a mistake here. But he's currently closing in on Liam Quinn now, just a car length or so back. How fast will he be able to get around him?
That's going to be the big question for this number 1 car as they begin lap number 62 of 150. So approaching halfway down to the bottom, Liam running that sort of middle groove that we've instantly seen sort of work for some people down to the inside in the dog leg. And you know what, Aaron, I actually think Liam Quinn is just making this sort of easy for that number 1 car, Tim Holgate. He was offline at turn 1, ran a high line through the dog leg, was way up the racetrack to turn 3. I think Liam knows that one is potentially quicker and just wants to try to sit in and follow through and maintain his own rhythm.
That can be one of the biggest mistakes that newer drivers will make on iRacing, is you try to battle for every position every moment. If you know somebody is the quicker driver, the only thing you're going to do by getting into a dogfight is use up your equipment and potentially ruin your race. He knew Holgate was the leader by a big margin, so there was really no reason to get into a battle there. So Liam Quinn showing some excellent racecraft.
Yeah, and we've seen drivers make that mistake, Aaron, on RaceSpotTV through a variety of different series. As you see drivers dealing with a little bit of lap traffic. Black car up on the top of your screen there was, I believe, Danley Inch in the number 52, who unfortunately is a little bit off the mark, but he's done a good job thus far. Has Danley Inch in that 52 car. They've got one driver down on towards pit road, actually. And that is, who is that? Just trying to get camera angle. It's Chad Simpson, 5 laps down. And I'm not sure if he's done a couple of staying out runs here, Aaron, but I'm curious if we might be near a fuel window. And even though he's a laps down, that might be sort of a signal that we might expect to see some leaders down soon.
Possibly.
It would be early, but I've seen stranger things.
Yeah.
I've seen Tim Holgate spin off a turn 4 of Phoenix and not hit the wall.
And that's not something you could ever expect. That front straightaway, very, very narrow. But right now, I think you got to stay out, as we have Kevin Williams now to the ends. Oh, I don't know if Kevin Williams wanted to pit there, but came out right in front of a bunch of cars coming through turn 4. And when you have an ill-handling car, it can be very hard to stay out of your own way.
Yeah, that it can. He was down on the apron to turn 3, and you see the sort of speed people are carrying up above him, and yeah, I don't really know. I think he's just sort of trying to get out of the way, but one of the worst things you can often do, Aaron, is try to get out of the way, and then it's so difficult, especially at these 1 mile racetracks where the difference in speed is so high. It can be difficult to find some way to merge back up onto the racetrack. In some ways, it's actually easier at the big tracks like Indianapolis, or even some of the, Pocono is another example where because the track's so long, you do have quite a bit of room to work with. When you're at these little tight tracks, in some ways, getting out of the way, pulling off to the apron, and slowing down is the most dangerous thing you can do, because finding a way to merge back in and get up to speed can be very, very difficult.
Yeah, Williams brought that car to pit road. I was wondering when race control was going to step in. He was 8 laps down, and at that moment in time, if you have that bad of a handling car, you really don't have that much to gain. So he's brought that in, and maybe he needs some repairs. I'm going to say there was damage to that car somewhere.
And now checking in with your race leaders, we really haven't talked about them much on this run. Andrew Kinsella continues to lead here in the number 14, and he's a 2.5 seconds clear of the 93 of Joshua Chin. Bradley Walters is just a couple of tenths off of Josh in that 3rd spot. Simon Bryant not very far off as well. And Tim Holgate, he's up to 5th place, so just 2.5 seconds back of the race lead, and he's in sort of this gaggle for 2nd through 5th place right now, Aaron. So still very relevant is that number 1 car, as you would always expect.
Yeah, don't know what happened to Stouffer. He was in a great battle earlier, but he is in this mix for position as it appears, but he's actually 1 lap down, so something not handling right on the Stouffer car, as Holgate now is going to come up behind him and try to make quick work, and Stouffer gives plenty of room, and around goes Holgate. Holgate now going to try to get around Bryant, as I think Tanner Watkins might have just had an encounter with the turn 2 wall in front of Holgate and Bryant.
So a little bit of dicey procedures here as drivers continue to dealing with lap traffic, but overall relatively clean. Race leader now officially 2 seconds clear, so seems like even with the new aero trim, Aaron, and here to put on my IndyCar broadcasting hat, even with the in-car controls such as the weight jacker and the anti-roll bar adjustments, which the drivers can alter inside of the car to affect the handling of those machines, tighten them up, loosen them up, etc., still seems like clean air is the way you want to be on these 1 mile racetracks. We didn't see that at Milwaukee. We actually saw that we saw a very tight race at Milwaukee, so interesting that we're seeing the leader really break away like this thus far at Phoenix. We saw it with Holgate, and now we're seeing it with Kinsella.
You have to wonder if Chin had that type of setup you talked about, that setup that likes that clean air, and he ran close for many laps trying to get the lead, but that might have used up his right front, and now he's just hoping for a pit stop. And you talked about the pit window. You might see one of these top 5 take a gamble and pit a little bit early, because you will be many tenths, if not half a second to a second faster with fresher tires. So if somebody in the top 5 pits early, it may draw the rest, as Holgate's going to look to the inside of Bryant, not going to be able to get it done. And as you can see, Holgate washes up just a little bit trying to make the inside move, so it can be very frustrating if you know you have the faster car and just can't get the position.
And talking about that with the early pit stop, Aaron, and what you're talking about, let's take a look at some of the pit strategy. Because for Tim Holgate, last time down pit road would have been at the last yellow, which would have been lap 47. Working lap 80, by the way. We're already over half distance in this 150-lap event. Only been running this race for about 30 minutes. So that's what me and Aaron meant when we said last can click off when they get into a green flag rhythm. It's sort of mid to high 19s at the start of the run for Tim Holgate as he's running through the dirty air, and it's already dropped off a full second down into the mid to high 20s. Let's take a look at Andrew Kinsella, who's been out in front. His quickest lap times at the start of the run, mid to low 19s, and he's currently still logging off mid to high 20s, but he's doing that dealing with lap traffic. That's going to be what you talk about in tire conservation, and the fact that we see that 1 second drop off, you know, we're probably going to see another 20 to 30 laps before people are really seriously considering coming down pit road. The reason you would come down early is because if you come down pit road and a driver around you waits 5 laps and comes down pit road, you're going to have a 5-second advantage. It is one of these things, we see it in the NASCAR vehicles as well in the iRacing service, where the undercut can be very, very powerful, but the overcut can work well. But you need to spend enough time on the racetrack. If you're going to go for the longer tire gamble, you need to spend enough time out there so that when you have new tires, your competitors are on old ones.
And in everybody's mind, and especially Holgate's mind, he spun around lap 40. We're almost 40 laps into this run, so that showed me if anybody's going to spin, you wouldn't expect it to be Holgate, much less alone. So probably made a slight adjustment to prevent that from happening, but everybody now is on 40-lap old tires. So that chance of the yellow, I think, is rising every lap with that oversteer off the corner, because with the older tires, you'll have a push condition. You're putting more and more wheel input into it, and as you straighten out, well, as the corner ends, you have more steering input, and the tires then buy, and boom, around you go. So these drivers have to fight the dirty air, fight the tires, fight each other. It's a difficult track.
Yeah, you got to fight the drivers, fight the car, fight the air, fight the asphalt, and then all the while need to make sure you maintain hydration here in the hot Arizona desert. By the way, talking about the weather, it's not too hot a desert out here today. 74 degrees, nice, and it's a nice winter's day here in Arizona. Oh, it's close moment. We got cars on the wall in front of Holgate.
Couple drivers, Joshua Chin. So, was it lap traffic?
I think so.
Yes, it was 3 wide at this track. Traditionally does not work, and you talked about drivers trying to get out of the way, and that is exactly what happened there, Randy. Niall McBride lifted, trying to let those 2 cars, and instead that put Joshua Chin right into the side of his car.
I don't know what Niall was doing. I think Niall came off pit road. We're going to get a replay on this on Niall's perspective. Yeah, Niall was on pit road, and he came off pit road, and he just sort of never got up to speed. I think you're right. I think if he came off pit road, he's not been having the greatest race. He's already scored 11 laps down, but I think he tried to stay out of the way. But if you're going to be off pace and stay out of the way here, and especially at a track like this where there's so much lap traffic, if you're going to be out of the way, you have to be under that yellow line. You cannot be up on the racing surface at all.
That's another one of the mistakes some drivers make as we give another racecraft lesson. A lot of drivers...
You and I are just experts.
Absolutely. That's why we're doing this and we're not in the race, right? Anyway, so what you'll see a lot of drivers do is they will try to give the position, so they'll lift on the straightaway, which instead of letting the car go completely clear, they're now entering side by side. So you want to let them come by you in the straightaway to not put any chance of going side by side in the corner. And if I were Joshua Chin, I would definitely have a word with Niall, going, Niall, come on, what was that?
Yeah, that was, you know, Niall's an experienced guy, and it's odd that you'll see him make that mistake. I honestly just don't think he realized that it's likely that he didn't realize Josh had a car up to his outside, but it is one of those situations where the best thing, Aaron, is if you really want to get out of the way, you need to make sure you get completely out of the way. There's still some strategy decisions happening. These cars are all laps down, so the cars that are on pit road. Everyone else that just came down pit road, well, I think pretty much all of our leaders just hit pit road. So
yeah, and to finish up the point, and give some defense to McBride, is they're doing 20-second laps. So he came out of the pits. There was a good 30-40 lengths. So he's now making sure he's not spinning his tires, gets back on the track, and all of a sudden, here comes 2 cars. So things at this track happen oh so quickly. So definitely no intent there, but all it takes is a moment and lapse of concentration to ruin yours, or in this case, somebody else's race.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the big talking points. But the other big talking point here is we get a field reset, and we have an issue on pit road for Tim Holgate. He's at the back of the field. I think he may have gotten a speeding penalty.
When things, talking about luck at the beginning, when you're on the bad side of it, things just go bad. So have to. I'm gonna go back and see.
He stopped on the racetrack right now.
Oh, there's a reason why. He got caught up in the incident.
Did he really?
Michael Peters, which was the other car involved in the 3-wide with Chin, which not to ignore Michael Peters being in the race, but Holgate clipped him just barely, so Holgate's going to have some right front damage.
So things not going well for that number 1 machine at all. Lights are out on the safety car. Top 5 as they run. Bring the standings up on the bottom of your screen right now. Andrew Kinsella, Bradley Walters, Simon Bryant, Austin Espati. Then you have the likes of Liam Quinn, John Downing, Adam Dock, and Niles Anders. We're going to get a word with Joshua Chin fairly shortly after this restart here, but we want to bring you the restart first, as the 14 of Andrew Kinsella is going to lead him back to green flag racing. And that 14 car has been the dominant car since Tim Holgate made some mistakes out in front, but will he be able to run from the teammates of Walters? We got trouble in the back.
E3 goes around. Oh, Simon Bryant, who was running such a conservative, such a clean race, touches that. Well, he was going around before he touched the apron, but somehow this was just a single car spinning in front of the field, so it could have taken out many, many cars, just a single car incident.
So riding on board with Simon right here. Oh, and he was loose before he ever got down to the apron. He was sliding before that point. I think he might have made an aero adjustment, Aaron, and just probably took maybe some rear wing or added a bunch of front wing to that car in pit road, and it just did not work out for him whatsoever.
Yeah, he had somewhat of a funky late entry, so I think he cranked the wheel. And you mentioned it's a cool day in Phoenix, only a track temperature, right now it's winter in the north of America, but 80 degrees is cool for Phoenix, and maybe cold tires.
We are going to have a short word here with Joshua Chin. And we now have the driver of that car that we saw get caught up in an incident, number 93 machine. Josh, let's first talk about your incident on pit road that you had with Kinsella early on, where Kinsella spun in front of you, did the good old Randy IndyCar traction spin exiting pit road. How did you think that it was potentially race over right there?
I did, because I was very certain that I was going to run straight into Andrew, and I was lucky enough that the brakes worked well enough that I could stop that quickly, and I thought that was race over, but turned out to be something else instead.
And now, of course, I think the bigger incident that's affected you today, that incident with Niall McBride while getting around Christian Peters. Me and Aaron took a look at it, and I'm sure I think you might echo our same thoughts. What's your perspective on the incident?
I mean, I don't know why I'm getting raced in the corner by a car that's 2 laps down. I just don't get it. And he saw Niall merging up, and there's nowhere else for Niall to merge. We're supposed to wait until after the dog leg, and he's merging up where he's supposed to be. I don't know what else he's supposed to do. He did what he should have, and I don't get why I'm getting raced in the corner by a car that's 2 laps down.
So you think so you would put blame on the car on the outside, actually, Peters?
Yeah, because there's no point for him to be in that position ever. It never should have been there.
Well, an interesting take there, definitely, and that's something I think me and Aaron didn't even really think about, but next round in a couple weeks, as usual, Josh, in this championship, you looking forward to it in this new car?
Yeah, looking forward to getting on some road courses, getting in places where we can control our destiny a little bit more, and not get raced in the corner by cars 2 laps down that have been doing it for 4 or 5 years.
Well, don't jinx it is all I can say to that, Josh. Unfortunate on the bad luck, but you managed to get to reverse pretty well, so me and Jamie will give you props there. But good luck at the next race once we start turning right in these new IR18 cars.
Thanks. Looking forward to it. Thanks for the broadcast, guys. Kind of out of nowhere, but hopefully the rest of the race is a little bit better for it.
So Mr. Joshua Chin, one of the better cars and race winner out at Milwaukee. And that's perspective we didn't even really think about, Aaron. The fact that car that was laps down, he really did sort of keep himself to the outside of Josh like that, somewhat needlessly.
Yeah, you brought up a good point, a place where you can control your own destiny. It takes just a momentary lapse or being raced into the corner like that. With a car coming up and having a car on your outside, think of it as a funnel going into the corner. 3 wide is not going to work. So definitely Chin does have the right to be a little frustrated with that car on the outside, no doubt.
So lights are back out on the iRacing safety car, which means we're going back to green flag racing. and the jokers out in the front of the field have changed, of course, after that. As we've lost Simon Bryant, now it's the likes of Espity, Quinn, Doc, Downing, Eek, and Tim Holgate who round out your top 8. Green flag back in the air, 55 laps to go. Stack up in the middle of the field. We might have problems before ever getting to turn 1.
That was real interesting.
Oh,
as
and there it
Holgate
is.
Gets into a car. John Downing goes around. 1, 2, 3, 4 cars are going to be involved. So, yeah, this is what I was expecting at the start of the race, but now we've got a case of yellow fever.
So we'll get a replay of this incident here. See they coming through corners number 3 and 4 right now. Green flag flies. And well, it was sort of a multi-level thing. Let's talk about that. The actual incident itself was John Downing, who got tagged by Holgate. You're right, sort of pushed up a little bit. But I think I want to take a look back, because I think the car that actually might be the sort of quote-unquote cause of this incident, I think might be that 4th place runner. Or I believe it was 4th place runner. Yeah, it was Espity who just didn't get on the throttle whatsoever. We're going to take a quick look on the replay about who that was. We're on board with Liam Quinn, and you see right there, I actually think what just happened right there, Aaron, these cars have a safety car fuel map, so that under yellow they just sip absolutely no fuel whatsoever. Axe Alex Rossi, that's how he won an Indy 500. And I think that he pretty much just forgot he was in that safety car fuel trim, and he basically got on the gas pedal and only had probably about a couple hundred horsepower as opposed to 600 to 700 that he's expecting to have under his right foot.
And because of that, Christopher Peters, Nefri Og, and several others races will come to a premature end out of turn 2, and John Downing as well. Downing may be able to continue. For Tim Holgate, a little bit of contact, so have to wonder if another wing might need to be replaced. He's back up to 6th. Wow, this race hectic to say the least.
Yeah, it's the things have gotten crazy. It's just sort of, it's turned into a race of unforced errors, hasn't it, Aaron? It's not been one big issue that's really been the turning point of this race. It's just, a spin here, someone racing maybe a lead lap car when they shouldn't be, someone, just forgetting to switch out of a fuel map. It's been a lot of little mistakes here. It's not been a major incident. It's been a lot of little mistakes that turn into big mistakes rather than just big mistakes in their own right.
And to win one of these races, you do have to, well, I would say run a perfect race, but right now our leader spun out of pit road, so there goes that logic. But so Kinsella trying to do a Danny Sullivan, get a spin and win, although spinning out of the pits, not quite as impressive.
Yeah, that's not nearly as impressive.
No. If he stays up there and we have a word with him at the end, obviously.
Now, unsafe exits on pit road, there's another race that Mario lost.
So
that may have been a little too political.
51 laps to go, and Randy, what's going to happen next?
I'm not sure, because I'm actually a little surprised that we haven't seen more cars, I think, come down pit road. That sequence just went through. You got to expect 50 laps to go. These guys really think they can make it from that last pit stop. Now, granted, last time we saw them down pit road was not that long ago, but I wonder if they think they can get to the end from there, because I think what do you think our expected fuel tank run would be here? 40 laps? Or do you think they could push it 60 to 70?
I think we would see about 50, 55. Holgate spun on lap 40, which that was only with one yellow. We've had essentially back-to-back yellows here, so I'm going to think that they're good.
So we're going to be very, very tight. It's going to be interesting to see. Last time most of these cars would have been down pit road would have been lap 88, 89. We're currently working lap number 100. I actually think, Aaron, that we're likely going to need, I think, one more pit stop to make it to the end from here. But I'm going to be honest. I think if I'm one of these guys, I think I'm hoping for maybe a caution in 10 to 15 laps so that I can know I can be safe on fuel and get tires.
Yeah, I'm going to see if anybody in the back is going to play the fuel conservation game as the pace car is about to turn off. Hopefully everybody has their fuel set right. Here we go.
So field comes off of corner number 4. Enjoy a couple of static cameras here as they go back to green flag racing in towards corner number 1. Tire field roaring by through that first corner. Then off that second corner, off towards the dog leg now. Field fanning out as much as they can. Kinsella already starting to take a little bit of an advantage out in front of the field over the 56 of Walters. Quinn and Doc are fighting that 44 and the 31. They want to scrap over that third spot. And Holgate, he wants to take P4 away.
And he does cleanly. Austin Espity behind. Might be able to use a draft to shoot to the inside. He's going to think better of it. Which right now is fast as well. He looks at the inside at the exit of the corner. So here comes Espity looking up the inside, but says no once more.
So the 777 trying to push his luck, and look at the run that that one car gets coming off the corner, and look at the margin that Tim Holgate has been able to stretch on Austin Espity through corners number 3 and 4. Now you see Espity, we've been talking about it all race long, taking a very, very inside line. You saw Holgate sort of running the middle of the track. That was because Liam Quinn was up against the bottom. So all these drivers still fishing for clean air as best as they can as they work through the dog leg for the 104th time in this event tonight. And Austin Espity just doing his hardest to try to maintain that gap to the one of Tim Holgate. And Holgate is still struggling to be able to, oh, we got another caution car of the round off that final corner. Who is that? It's Simon Bryant again.
Maybe some damage from a previous incident, but we've ran about 7 laps green total on these tires. Have to wonder now, and for Simon Bryant, actually, not really of his own doing. A car in front, Adam Dock got a little bit loose. That sort of made Bryant go onto the apron, maybe tap the brakes, and that is the worst thing you can do, not hit the brake. But if you're partially on the transition of being on the apron and on the banking, and if you touch the brake, half the wheels are going to have more braking power than the other, and you're going to go around, and that's going to be race over for Simon Bryant.
Yeah, that it is. Unfortunate little mistake there from Adam Dock, and like we were talking about, a bunch of little mistakes are turning into big ones, and this is going to be interesting here because I think right now, Aaron, the tires are old enough and they've been heat cycled several times. I think this might be where you might see some games come in, and we're seeing a number of split strategies. Most drivers hitting pit road. Holgate stays out. Joe Branch stays out. I believe the 98 machine stays out. And we got a couple others in back. So 3 cars, it seems like, for the most part, to be out in front. And the notable one is the one of Holgate. And I think if Holgate's staying out, that tells me that you can make it to the end without coming down pit road from here. The question is, how are the tires on that one car?
We saw him pull away from the field on 10-lap old tires earlier this race. So I think it's bad news for the rest of the field that Holgate's going to have clean air. However, what shape is his car in? He's had contact twice, so what shape will that car be in? Will it have the same level of dominance, or will Kinsella's tires, or perhaps will all the cars that stayed out, will Joe Branch have something for Holgate?
We're going to find out here in just a few moments on RaceSpotTV and iRacing Live. And, well, don't go away. We're going to take a short break before then, get to the end of this yellow, and bring the exciting last 40 laps and some change in this event here at Phoenix in the Indy Elite Series. Don't go away. Well, welcome back. Things are getting ready to get busy as we're going to have a restart with 41 laps remaining in the field. Randy Chineth, Aaron Likens, that's a lineup you haven't heard in a while. And we're bringing you an intense restart here towards the end of round number 4 of the Indy Elite Series at Phoenix. Tim Holgate, Joe Branch, Niles Anders, they make up the top 3. They have not pit. Pretty much everyone else down on pit road for 4 fresh tires and fuel. Green flag back in the air. 41 laps to go, 41 miles to decide it, as Kinsilla's already making a move on Stouffer for 4th.
Kinsella can't waste any time getting through these cars. Up next will be Anders, then Branch. If Kinsella wants any chance at this win, he's going to have to dispose of these 2 cars within a couple laps. If not before then, he's going to get a good run off 4. Should pop to the inside and make easy work of Niles. And if Niles Anders, very wise move there, just ceding the position.
Very good driving indeed there by Niles. We've seen a couple of times tonight, drivers maybe not giving discretion when sometimes it is the better part of valor. The 14 machine is going to look to continue to work his way forward. Next he has the 28 machine of Joe Branch that he's going to have to get around. And is he going to be able to do it? Ducks down to the bottom in 1, as you would expect, and looks down now towards the dog leg. Inside of 40 laps remaining in this event. Going to be working the slipstream the best as he can, but looking for clean air all the while. Runs a very high line through corner number 3. Gets a big dosage of clean air. Gets some slipstream down the front straightaway. Will he have a look into 1? No, he will not. And this is going to be, I think, where the tire disadvantage starts to die off, Aaron, because it only lasts a few laps. He has a run, and he's harassing the 28. I don't know if he's going to be able to get to him. Around him.
He's going to look to the outside. He's going to have to almost do a crossover as we have trouble. Holgate again.
Holgate, big incident. Second
Multiple
time
cars
tonight.
Oh my goodness. So you talk about trimming out a car. Obviously the Holgate machine was trimmed out just a little bit too much, and the rabbit's foot of surviving all the chaos, all the mayhem, obviously has come to an absolute grinding halt, and unfortunately for Niles Anders, he too is involved.
So Niles Anders involved, and well, for the one of Tim Holgate, his bad luck season continues here, Aaron, because he's yet to close out a win, I believe, in this championship thus far. It's been a hectic event for that one machine. It's been a hectic start to the season. Now suddenly, we're talking about the 28 machine of Joe Branch leading this motor race.
What this has been one of the odder events I think we've ever covered. Seeing Holgate make 3 mistakes in one race, very rare, but one person's error is another person's gain. And here we go. It may be a dogfight between Kinsella and Branch.
Gonna have to see. It's gonna be exciting, but man, oh man, that was a big incident. Joe Branch out in front. That's a driver who qualified 12th and is up now running in that first spot. We've seen Kinsella dominate thus far. SPT Walters, Liam Quinn. Those drivers have been competitive all night, but I have to say, it really has to come down to Branch and Kinsella. And normally I would say that Kinsella would be the favorite because we saw that car be fast earlier today. The question is going to be, will he be able to get around Branch, who's going to have all that clean air?
Yeah, I think we were about 1 lap from Kinsella making his move, and he may have waited too long because he was right under the rear wing where you have the least amount of downforce. Hopefully for Kinsella, he didn't burn his tires. Hopefully for Branch, he did. So if, well, I was about to say before Holgate did lose it, was Kinsella was trying to set him up by running that higher line, putting Branch lower, and using the high line radius equals speed. Kinsella would have had a greater radius, had more exit speed, and popped to the inside in turn 1. For Branch now, he now knows what Kinsella has planned, so will we see Branch maybe deviate from the line that he has ran to make it a little bit more difficult to Kinsella to use the plan that he showed?
It's going to be the big talking point, isn't it? That's what we're going to really have to wait and see. The thing is, though, for Kinsella, you know, you might say, oh, he may have been waited a little bit too long. In some respects, you can only, you know, do what you can here at an event like this, especially here at a track like Phoenix. Sometimes you have no other opportunity, no other choice but to sort of sit patiently in line and wait for this race to sort of come to you. So it is one of those things for Kinsella. Did he really have the grip? And the thing is that we've seen Clean Air been dominant all night Aaron, and that's the thing. We've only seen 2 cars be able to run with clean air very well, and they've been dominant. We started with the 1 of Holgate, and it's been the 14 of Kinsella. It's very well possible that the 28 of Branch, now out there in clean air, might be able to just skip away from that 14 car behind.
And if so, that will show strategy can win. And his position started all the way back on lap 10 when he stayed out. So it's never too early to start strategizing and planning. And when you have a plan, you have to stick with it. If you go back and forth between strategies, that's when you get yourself into trouble. Looking through the top 5, as you mentioned, Liam Quinn having a great run in 5th, Bradley Walters 4th, but right now this race looks like it's going to come down to Branch or Kinsella, but if something happens, Austin Espatee is going to be right there to pounce on either of them or both.
Now, the Indy Elite Fantasy Series been sort of a private running coming up. Well, I think most people's picks have gotten blown up more than their March Madness brackets, but that said, field's getting ready to get reset. 30-some-odd laps remaining in this one. Of the field works off corner number 4 on the restart, and Joe Branch is going to lead him in towards corner number 1, and he has a big margin. Kinsella giving a pretty wide berth here on the start of this, through this first corner and off to the dog leg for the first time. And suddenly the 14 winner at the second round at New Hampshire this season, he needs to worry about that 777 behind as they work through the final set of corners. They're on toward the front straightaway. They're restacked up. Is the 14 going to have a move into 1? Yes, he is. He looks down to the bottom, and Joe Branch is going to try to fight back on the outside, but will he be able to do so? It's very difficult to work the outside line here at Phoenix in these Indy cars. In towards 3 and 4, you can occasionally make this work as well, but no, it's going to be the 14 machine of Andrew Kinsella who goes into the race lead with 31 laps to go.
A little bit of patience shown there by Espatee. Espatee could have forced the issue and go 3 wide, but I don't think at least 2 of the 3 drivers wouldn't have made it out of turn 3 had he done that. Espatee now really pops to the inside, has to get out of it. That's going to allow Bradley Walters to close right up. Oh. So Walters now going to the inside for P3, side by side into 1. And Walters backs out of it, which is now going to put Liam Quinn in striking distance of that 4th spot.
Austin Espatee sort of slamming that door shut. Now you see the 44 of Liam Quinn. He's going to try his hand at turns number 3 and 4 around the outside. He's going to be able to make that work. Power move by that purple and white number 44 around the outside of Bradley Walters. He puts himself up into the 4th spot. And now if you look out in front, that 14 car of Andrew Kinsella, Aaron, with all this fighting that's happening for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, he has broken away and is already out to a 9/10 of a second advantage. And I think that's going to close near to a second when he comes across this time through. Over a second.
And mentioned earlier, sometimes a race is going too well, too perfect. Right now for Kinsella, he's almost in that position. 27 laps to go, a 1.1 second lead. You have a car in older tires in 2nd. It's too perfect. Well, as a driver, that's when you start thinking, okay, do I have enough fuel? Yes, I do. Okay, if a yellow comes out, this is where you can start overthinking. Sometimes it's easier to be constantly battling somebody than it is to have a lead and let your mind wander.
We are going to have a quick chat with that driver of the number 1 car, Tim Holgate, who has had such an up and down day tonight. Tim, we saw you self-spin off of turn 4 a couple of times this evening. What's wrong with the car, man? It doesn't seem like you guys have quite figured this IR18 out just yet on the long run.
Yeah, so on the second run, we had damage. We had clipped one of the accidents that had happened in turn 4, and we were trying to stay out there and kind of run it with using tools to adjust everything. But it was just after after you got 10 or so laps on it, the right rear just overheated. The first spin was actually because we did most of our testing at full tilt, and we'd conserved tires through the entire run there. And then when we dialed in the settings we usually have for 30 or so laps in, it was just too loose because we'd saved the right rear. And at this track, it's very snappy coming off of 4 because there's much less banking than you get 1 and 2. So you're trying to get as much out of the car through all the corners, and it's kind of caught me out. But we had a really good car today. I mean, it was just being a little bit too aggressive at a time when we didn't need to. I mean, I could have just backed it off a little bit more on the tools there and kept going around, but we thought that was a good enough setting, and it just kind of hit us.
Now, a bit of a road course swing coming in this series. Going to go to the Grand Prix of Long Beach and then Barbara and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course as we run through April. Now, of course, this new car, I think most of the big changes are going to be happening at least on the oval side of things, especially for these little 1 mile racetracks. I also suspect we'll see some interesting racing on the big speedways later on in the year, most notably in the Indianapolis 500. I'm sure you've done some testing, Tim, on the road course. You're one of the road course aces traditionally in this championship. What do you think we're going to see from these cars at those little road courses that we might not typically have seen in the old DW12?
Well, it's going to be kind of interesting. I think we're going to be able to follow a bit closer now in this car, and that's what it seemed like here at Phoenix. I suspect it's going to be the same at the road courses as well. You're going to see faster speed for sure, probably 2 or 3 seconds faster, I would guess. Other than that, it's very similar. Not a whole lot of differences in terms of how you drive the car. The setups are significantly different from an aerodynamic perspective as far as what options you have and everything. But I think it's going to be close racing. It's going to be good racing, just like we had last year in this league. So it should be a lot of fun to watch.
Well, thanks for joining us, Tim. Any sponsor plugs before we let you go?
Yeah, just want to thank Sam Waxwell Customs for putting together a great wheel. Z-Blue Software for giving us a great display in the wheel, and Butter for keeping me comfortable. You guys for putting on the broadcast, and and Joe Branch for putting on the league. There
he is, driver of that #1 car, Tim Holgate. Been a frustrating start to the season for him, Aaron. Another finish like this, to have 4 races in a row not quite go your way is not the way you want to start a championship.
No, but I will say Tim Holgate was a good segue Indy with Joe Branch, because that's a driver we have to watch, because he is slowly reeling in our race leader. So Holgate had a bad race, but as he closed with Joe Branch, that is the driver to watch right now. Older tires and reeling in the leader. So does Kinsella, did he maybe have to dial back the fuel? Did something happen? Maybe a tap of the wall? Don't know, but Kinsella is slowly fading back into the clutches of Joe Branch. This race not over.
And we're going to watch Kinsella here in the 14, as I think what he might be struggling with here, Aaron, is that there is a lapped car of John Downing just in front of the 14 machine. It's possible at the last pit stop he may have trimmed that car out a little bit and is just trying to work the clean air. Through corners #1, they're going to come. Kinsella finally gets around, but the fight's going to be on for third. And Espesti is going to look to the middle of the racetrack, thought about making it 3 wide, but no. But Austin wants that second spot and wants the opportunity to take a win here. We've had 3 different winners through the first 3 rounds of this championship. If the 14 machine wins, he'll be the first winner to win multiple races thus far this season after winning at Homestead. And you know that Branch and Espesti here, Aaron, they want to keep that new winner streak rolling.
Yeah, Espesti has to weigh, with only 13 laps to go, he has to weigh his options. If he fights Branch, the leader gets away. However, he has fresher tires, so if he gets around Branch, he may be able to close the gap faster. So really a big problem right now for Espesti is weighing that strategy option of, do you just wait in line and hope Branch catches, or do you take destiny into your own hands and try to take that spot? Right now, Branch really closed up that lap 0.3 of a second faster, as I think you're right, Randy. Anytime Kinsella gets a lap car in front of him, his lap times are considerably slower. So Branch, if he can time his run just right, might be able to take this fight to the lead.
Next time that we get a little bit of lap traffic in front of your leader.
Oh, inside.
Yeah, I just saw that. A little bit of lap traffic held up the 28 car, and that's going to allow that 777 of Austin Espesti to leap down to the inside at turn 1, and he's going to take that second spot away. 10 and a half laps remaining here at Phoenix, and an American Open Wheel Classic is putting on a show as Espesti is on new rubber, and he is reeling in that 14 car who is struggling. Lap traffic now in front of that race leader, and let's go on board and listen to the engine note, and let's see if that driver is really having to roll out of this one on the throttle. He tucks down to the inside. Stouffer in the 7 is who he has out there, who's going to work with him, but that's going to hurt the run for Andrew Kinsella as he works his way through. What happened in the 1 and 2? Kinsella is just going to be able to get there, but he's having to lift heavily through corner #1, and look at the run for Austin Espesti. He's tucked right underneath that number 14 car, and he's going to look to the inside in corner #3, and if that 14 machine is trimmed out, there's no way he's going to make it stick. New leader coming off of corner #4. Austin Espesti leads at the line. Into 1 and 2 they're going to come, and Andrew Kinsella will go to the point. Excuse me, Austin Espesti will go to the point.
Oh, so many A's there up front with first names. SPT now holds the lead. Kinsella on the outside, and oh, I said you can have a race going so perfect. What could go wrong? And Austin SPT is what happened. Kinsella a little tight there out of 2. Don't push the car too hard. Don't risk a podium finish yet. Oh, you know, Kinsella, oh, did he touch the wall there? Entry to 3.
I think there's a little scrape, but I don't think it was a hard one. I think he should be all right. That is one of the things on the iRacing service. You can sort of give that wall a kiss and get away with it, but you get too much of it, not going to be able to do nice things with you. That said, Andrew Kinsella has not been able to stick with the 777 of Austin SPT, and I think he's still struggling with the dirty air. Is that 14 car, especially dealing with that lap traffic? He sort of had 2 cars out in front of him for a short time, Aaron, and in that little window, the 777 stretched an extra 10th or 2 on him. So SPT, with 4.5 or so laps remaining in this race, is in a dominant position and just a few more cars in terms of lap traffic out in front of him.
SPT timed his pass Joe Branch absolutely to perfection, using the lap car sort of as a pick, which then allowed him to use be in control of his own destiny, not relying on Branch to catch up. But what a final 15 laps SPT has put in. Now coming to complete lap 147, it's time to seal the deal. No mistakes.
Need to be absolutely picture perfect. Only about 1 minute left in this event. You have one driver out in front of you. Just need to get to them. You may not even need to really get around them. You just need to sort of get to them and make sure you don't get passed by the 14 machine. It's the lap car, the 42 of Chad Simpson. Coming off the final corner. Popsicle sticks waving at the flag stand as there are 2 laps left to go. You look down to the inside. Picture perfect. Not going to make a mistake. Dealing with lap traffic on the closing stages of this race. Through the dog leg for the penultimate time and through the wide turn 3 and 4 sweeper here at ISM Speedway. Off of corner number 4, white flag waves at the starter stand, and the 777 machine will take his final 1-mile trip around this famous American open wheel racing racetrack out here in the desert, into corners number 3 and 4 for the final time, and Austin SPT will become the 4th winner in the Indy Elite Series in 2018. Austin SPT wins after 150 miles of Phoenix.
What a win indeed. That was a phenomenal race. Started P3, so he had the speed, but he fell back early in that first cycle. Didn't really talk about him in that mid-cycle, but no mistakes, and was there at the end and played the strategy to perfection, and he is your winner at ISM Speedway.
And almost gets dumped by the 14 of Kinsella as he comes up to do some celebratory donuts. But Aaron, one of the things we talked about all day was in order to win one of these races, you not only have to be good, but you have to get some luck. Is it any more fitting that with that conversation, car 777 wins the event?
Hey, so no commentator's curse there on our part, which so often we say one thing and the opposite happens. Luck was a big factor here tonight. You look at the finishing results and see a lot of drivers that just had horrible luck, but for us and SPT, everything went his way. He had a couple close calls. He was almost involved in, well, both the whole gate spins, but wow, what a race. And let's not shy away from Joe Branch finishing 3rd using strategy to perfection.
I'm going to take you down your post-race results here from the Indy Elite Series at the ISM Speedway. Post-race results go on your screen right now. It was that 777 of Austin SPT from 3rd on the grid. Bit of an up and down race for him. I think he was deep outside of the top 10 at one point, able to take a big win here. Andrew Kinsella dominant at one point, somehow, some way. Not sure what happened, if there was contact that we missed, but that car suddenly slowed down in the closing stages, and that allowed that 777 machine and the 28 to close in, and SPT to take advantage. Joe Branch finishes 3rd. Fantastic race from him, with Liam Quinn in 4th. Bradley Walters 5th. Simon Bryant, who after having a very eventful day, been involved with a couple cautions, he rounds out the 6th spot. Adam Dawkins 7th. James McClure 8th, Andres Eakin 9th, and Chris Stouffer rounds out your top 10. A little bit deeper down the field, we saw some issues from John Downing. He comes home in 11th, with Chris Peters in 12th. Tanner Watkins in 13th, Danley Inch in 14th, Chad sits in 15th, and Niall McBride in that 16th spot. As you can see, a lot of cars, a lot of laps down here at ISM Speedway. Sort of a tradition here, I guess you could just say. Attrition is always a huge factor. Niles Anders, Tim Holgate, talk about a car that looked dominant and set to win. Couple little personal mistakes, takes that one car out of contention. Nefrayog and Josh Chin, wrong place, wrong time for him. Have to think what Chin could potentially be able to make of this at the end of this event had he not gotten involved with that incident. With Michael Peters, Kevin Williams, Jose Crescente finishing 140 laps down, with Christian Steele and Adam Plunkett not taking the green flag in this event. We are going to step aside for a couple moments here on RaceSpotTV, catch our breath, and bring you post-race coverage of the Indy Elite Series. Do not go away. It's been a fantastic one, and I think the drivers are going to have some interesting takes.
Of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, will it be Tim Hogan? It's going to be Christopher DeMerit at the line.
Well, it was a fantastic race out here in the Arizona desert, and we found our 4th winner in 4 rounds of the Indy Elite Series in 2018. And Aaron Likens, he has stood by with that 777 of Austin Espetit, winner here at Phoenix.
Oh, Austin, very rarely do we see a pass at Phoenix inside the final 10 laps to take the win. On that final run, did you think you have a chance at it?
No, I knew it was hard to pass all race, and I made a couple mistakes early on that put me way back, but I figured out something in the setup that made it work towards the end of the stint, and I used one of the lap cars as a pick to get by Joe, then the same to get a run on Andrew, and then I told Andrew what the adjustment was, and for him it was too late, and I took off.
Just note the timing there. Passed Andrew and then told him what the adjustment was.
Spoken like a true racer there. Let him know after the fact. But you actually sort of answered my what I was going to ask. That pick on Joe Branch, you had to be paying attention to the fact that the two of you were catching Andrew. At what point did you go, okay, do I work with Joe or do I need to get around him to have a chance at this?
I was keen on working with him because I saw we were catching at first, but that lap car kind of just fell at the right time, and I was able to cut 4 pretty close and get a run into 1. And I overdrove 1 a little bit and slid up, and hopefully I didn't cause a show to almost get put them all there. But then after that, I was just using another pick on Andrew, and it's actually glad to find victory lane this time at Phoenix rather than come second like I did last year.
And we saw a lot of unforced errors by a lot of drivers out there. How difficult is it to keep the car pointed straight over a long run at the ISM Speedway?
For us, our right front tire was getting burnt up really quickly, so we could abuse the right rear a little bit more. So for us, it was more about trying to find the clean air and not try to get into the wall, where others, it seemed like their right rear was burning up, which was causing them to spin, or they just hit the apron and spun out on themselves.
Shoutouts?
Give John HD, Andrew Kinsella, and everyone else who just worked on the setup. I've had a concussion for the past week, so I didn't think I was going to race tonight. But just everyone who worked on the setup and the Q setup as well.
Well, that's Austin Espetit. Concussions coming back from... not easy, so even more impressive win here by Austin Espetit tonight, Randy.
That it was a fantastic race indeed for Austin Espetit. It's been sort of a talking point in iRacing lately. A lot of people having to deal with some very real-world injuries. Saw, I believe it was PJ Sturgis battled back from a concussion last year. Been talking about Ryan Luza, who has won a race in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series literally one-handed, considering he had the broken collarbone. Now Austin Espetit, he comes away after recovering from a concussion. But let's carry on down the line. I'm stood by with second-place runner Andrew Kinsella. Andrew, you were quick all day, and you look like you were set to potentially be the first repeat winner here in 2018. But unfortunately, Austin just waiting about half a lap too long to tell you the adjustment that made the car super quick. How frustrating is that?
I mean, it's a little frustrating, but second place, I'll take it around here. It's a very tough track. I mean, you'd think that after I give him the race set that's going to win the race, he's going to at least pay me back and tell me the adjustment to make it win. But no, it was a good race. So we almost got cut out on some pit strategy there when all those cautions came out, but we were able to pass all the snake pit, Velocidaddy, etc. guys. Joe and Tim were really strong today, and we were just able to get by him on new tires, and I thought I had it, and then that lap car it cut my momentum, and Austin got around me and then told me how to be in the air. So if it had been in a different order, I probably could be the winner though. And
now we're going to have a slew of road courses coming up in the Indy Elite Series, and of course this new car I mean, it seems like we keep talking about it endlessly. The new aero balance, as far as the chassis goes, it's very similar to the DW12, and on the road courses, that's going to be the big thing. Aero, while it's important, isn't quite as over effective as the way it is on the ovals. We heard from Holgate, and I've heard from Chin in the past that the cars drive relatively similarly on the road courses, but there's just some different things in the setup, especially on the aero, which you expect, because that's really the big change in these cars. Has that been your findings, and you think you guys are going to have a good run on the tracks that turn right?
Yeah, I'd say it's very similar. The one difference that I find between the old car and the new car is this car, you have to run it a fair bit higher off the ground in terms of ride heights, just to let especially the rear end get the air it needs to sort of suck back down and not bottom out. So that's the main, I'd say, setup difference between the road courses in the DW12 and the road courses in the IR18. But overall, it's definitely the same philosophy, very similar style for driving as well.
And of those road courses, Long Beach, Barber, and Indianapolis, those are the 3 races on the schedule. Which one do you feel most confident at?
I'd say probably Barber. It's a very high commitment track, and I tend to be a little bit probably over aggressive on the road courses. So Barber, the style of driving there suits my style. I can throw it into the corner a little bit more than, say, at a Long Beach where it's very bumpy and you don't quite have the traction.
Well, thanks for joining us. Before we let you go, Andrew, any shout-outs? Who would you like to thank after a strong run here in the 4th round of the championship?
Yeah, just the rest of Absolute Zero Power Slide, John HD with our Q set, and everyone who helped out getting the car ready. And, of course, thanks to you guys for putting this on for us.
Andrew Kinsella, everybody, winner at Homestead, comes away with a fantastic 2nd place finish here at Phoenix after looking like he may have been the best car on the track. We have one more interview queued up, and Mr. Aaron Likens, he's going to be in control of that one as well. He stood by with the 28 of Joe Branch.
Joe Branch, great podium finish there. Got up through strategy. Obviously, I don't think you would have done anything different, but looking back, could you have had anything for the win?
No, I think I got to be pretty happy with 3rd place. Maybe I could have tried to save my tires. I got pretty aggressive trying to catch Kinsella there towards the end. In the lap that Austin caught me, I hit the apron in 3, but I didn't take my foot out of it because I was just trying to get that run in the lap car. I knew the lap car was going to be a pick, so I just tried to stay in it, and it didn't work, so I had to make a big correction, and then he got me.
When you're in a late race situation like that and you're seeing the 10ths tick off, you're catching the leader, and yet you have pressure from behind, what are you paying attention more, catching the leader or fending off P3?
Yeah, my feeling was we was very good over the long run. Obviously, they said they found something there towards the end, and that was apparent because they definitely got faster. But I felt good where I was at. I knew Kinsella was going to come back to me some. Honestly, I didn't think he was going to come back to me as much as he did. He was struggling in traffic compared to us a little bit, and I thought it was going to be good, but I turned out to lose a position.
Looking forward to the road courses. What's your take on how this car will take to the road and street circuit?
The car's so far the car's blast to drive. I like it a lot on the ovals, road courses, the tracks I've driven so far. I don't feel like it falls off as much, but maybe that's because I'm not as hard on the tires as some guys. I'm definitely more of a mid-pack guy on road courses, but I look forward to the challenge and turning right a little bit.
And P3 podium shout-outs.
I get a shout-out to you guys for this broadcast, making it happen tonight. Kind of last-minute deal, so it's very, very cool and nice to hear you back in the booth, Aaron. Randy's been great to us as well, and then we got the Triple Crown sponsor. It just came in. Husikveld, I think is how you pronounce it. I'm still working on that, but going to be our Triple Crown sponsor, so excited for that, as well as some other things to come in the near future.
I've gotten European help on that as well, Joe. Just think of it as who, sink, fell, but throw a D at the end.
So I did good.
Yeah, you did good. You did better than I've done for the past year and a half.
Nice.
That's Joe Branch, P3, and Randy. Of tonight's race, the passing we saw mid-pack, and even the battles for the lead, it's got me looking more forward to Saturday night's race there in the real series.
Yeah, if IndyCar has made the car anywhere as realistic the way it is on iRacing, we're gonna be in for a good event, I think, because this was a very, very interesting event. It was definitely a lot better than what we've seen in the real cars in the DW12 in the past here at Phoenix. You know, I know there was a lot of push to get it the American Open Wheel Racing at the top level back to this racetrack, and we've seen Silver Crown come back here, which is amazing. They're going to be running with IndyCar again, which is a match made in heaven as far as I'm concerned.
Yes,
but
I agree.
with this aero trim being slightly different on these cars, I think it's going to make for a much, much better format. And we've seen a good race at St. Pete in the real series, and I think we're going to be in for a good one here as well at Phoenix.
Oh, if they can continue this momentum, that race at St. Pete, definitely a classic. That's a race we'll talk about 5-10 years from now. So looking forward to Saturday, but that's not to take anything away from what the racers we saw tonight.
Are you even going to have any time to watch the race running back and forth between quarter midgets and silver crowns?
So for the viewers, I'll be out there working both USAC events that will be there. But yeah, the IndyCar race will be after the Silver Crown race. So by that point in time, it will be time to just sit back and watch IndyCar drivers go around that mile as fast as they can.
And that's going to be an exciting event for sure. Be sure to catch that. Going to be a fantastic race there for the Indy cars. Always a classic here at Phoenix. Hope to see it get back to the glory it once had for American Open Wheel Racing. But that's going to do it for us here on RaceSpotTV. Myself and Aaron Likens brought you all the action in this one. Have to always shout out our various partners at RaceSpotTV, the likes of Istvan Ballo, Andres Werner, Simon Grossman, and Nick Tiston. If you're not done watching iRacing content just yet, well, that's too bad because we're done for the evening, but there are more stuff. There are more events coming up this week. We have the Spring Fling presented by VLR. Look for that. Super late models of dirt track at Charlotte. Going to be commentated by myself, Randy Chineth, and Ben Shelton. The Verizon IndyCar Series comes back here on RaceSpotTV in just a couple of days for Friday prime time. Join Will Vincent and Connery Maddock for that, as they'll be back right here at Phoenix International Raceway. And then the likes of the V8 Super Trucks, the Major Series, and the logical Classic IndyCar Series takes to Sebring. You're going to join Will Vincent and Jack Stiles for that as well. So a very, very open wheel field week here for us here on RaceSpotTV and on iRacing Live. But for everyone here, thank you for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you guys next time. Bye-bye.